You are now listening to the Pelicans post-game report. Flash report.
All things Pelicans, you're now tuned into the Pelican post-game report. Much love to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of PPR, man. Y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed, groups, X, it doesn't matter. We up in this thing. I'm Big Q. Got an update for you guys, man, on this Christmas Eve. Shout out to the family. Happy holidays to you guys. Hope you're being safe, enjoying time with your family, or you just chilling by yourself. More power to you. Sometimes that happens. And in this episode, man, listen, we got a Pelican update, man. This is coming directly from NOLA.com. They issued a full-out medical report on all of the Pelicans currently dealing with issues. And I just wanted to take the time to kind of go over the timeline here. As we're in late December here. So we wanted updates on with these players and what is going on. And the Pelicans, eventually they released some New Orleans Pelicans medical updates straight from Pelicans.com. New Orleans Pelicans announced the following medical updates. Jose Alvarado, left hamstring strain, has begun the return to play conditioning phase of his rehabilitation program and is expected to return to full practice next week. It will be week to week going forward. So Jose Alvarado been out for a while. He's coming back. That's a positive to help out the Pelicans off the bench. As some of the team is starting to fill out, that's a positive. Brandon Ingram, left ankle sprain, remains in the early treatment and recovery phase of his rehabilitation program. He will be re-examined in approximately 2 weeks. His status will be updated as appropriate. So as you can see, the Pelicans let you know about BI and that he's at the start of the process. We'll see how it looks. And we'll get another date, an update in a couple of weeks of how fast his progress is going. And you remember, some of these guys are on the trade blocks. Brandon Ingram's on the trade block. There are different reports out there. Some smoke, some just bullshit. And this is what you get during this process between middle December going into early February during the trade deadline. You can hear all kind of rumorville reports. Some of them have merit. Some of them are without merit. You know, they're just made up. And that's purposeful, right? A lot of misinformation thrown in there. So that's good on Brandon Ingram to hear about that. Karlo Matković had a low back disc protrusion. That sounds horrible. His progress to return to play conditioning phase of his rehabilitation program. He will be week to week going forward. So he is also in a return to play conditioning phase, similar to Jose Alvarado. Karlo Matkovic's not an active person on the Pelicans, active roster. He's more of a person. Well, he's kind of the last guy on the bench, and ultimately at times the Pelicans do send him to the G League. So Karlo right now, similar to Jose Alvarado. Trey Murphy III, who we've seen had hurt himself quite recently. He sustained a left ankle injury during the Sunday's matchup against the Nuggets. Has been diagnosed with a mild left ankle sprain. His status is considered day-to-day going forward. So a left ankle sprain, mild, and of course a mild left ankle sprain. Now let's kind of look at that. Let's jump right on into it and look at this. A left ankle sprain, according to some of the medical reports that is showing you, typically recovers within a few weeks with proper care. Primarily focused on RICE, which is rest, ice, compression, and elevation during the initial phase, followed by gradual range of motion exercise and light strengthening activities to restore full function to the ankle. Most people can return to normal activities within 1 to 3 weeks with a mild ankle sprain, right? Key points about a mild ankle sprain. Rest, avoid putting weight on the injured ankle as much as possible. Use crutches if needed. Ice, apply ice packs to the ankle for 20 minutes at a time, several times a day to reduce swelling. Compression, wrap the ankle with an elastic bandage to provide support and minimize swelling. And of course, keep it elevated above the heart level whenever possible. So just wanted to get with the Trey Murphy breakdown, strictly kind of giving us more of an insight. And like I said, at times when you're doing stuff with the Pelicans and you hear about stuff, and the reason why I'm doing the look at what happened with him, and I guess I could say with them, they say an evaluation of the left ankle sprain in terms of what's happening with Brandon Ingram. I guess he's saying they'll look at his status as well. But I also could do that as well. And matter of fact, you know, we're going to take a look at that in just a second. So anyway, man, listen, let's get back into the rest of these right here. Trey Murphy, like it says, 1 to 3 weeks, according to some of them. And like I said, I've looked at them like 3 or 4 different ones, but I'm not going to do all that right now. I'm just showing you guys one, but they agree with each other. You can do your own medical research, and you have to, dealing with the Pelicans when they talk about these injuries, because sometimes these injuries go well beyond where they originally said it was supposed to happen. And if there's a setback in rehabilitation, they have not, them at time don't always tell you that as a, you know, there was a setback in it. They are very poor in giving updates on these players consistently, and they need to do a way better job about what's going on with these players and letting people know what the correct timelines, as opposed to hearing insiders speculate about this stuff. Let the people know. More information out there directly from you helps keep certain angst about the players down. Update is properly needed, and that's consistently. And of course, Zion Williamson, left hamstring strain, has begun the return to play conditioning phase of his rehabilitation program, and it's expected to return full practice next week. He will be week to week going forward, which means he'll be under restriction. That's pretty much what's going to happen with Zion Williamson. But we showed on PPR last week, videotape of him, taking jump shots, him making layups. You're looking at his face. There's no discomfort on his face. His range of motion looks good. A lot of people speculate, man, Zion Williamson wasn't really that hurt. This is the Pelicans doing this extra stuff, doing all this extra stuff. And this is what David Griffin has done. He's gun shy with Zion Williamson with his injury situation, but he returns to full practice next week and will be week to week going forward, meaning he'll be under restriction and they'll be monitoring his situation. So we'll see how they do that. Of course, they won't be back to backs and all this kind of stuff and under minute restrictions. So there it is as far as that goes. And of course, let's kind of reverse and go back to the Brandon Ingram thing, because we know BI got hurt several weeks ago. And, to kind of look at his left ankle sprain recovery time. And this is just an overview, and they're sourcing this from Mass General. They're sourcing this from the Mayo Clinic. They're sourcing this from Harvard Health. Those are your sources, right? The time it takes to recover from an ankle sprain depends on the severity of the sprain and can vary from a few weeks to several months. That's quite the palette, right? Quite the turnabout. But the thing when we seen Brandon Ingram, he walked off of there and he could not put any pressure on that ankle. He had to be carried out into the locker room. So, and we haven't seen Brandon Ingram at all. So a left ankle sprain remains in the early treatment. He will be examined in a couple of weeks. So left ankle sprain. And based on what we were seeing, if you look at this here, it'll basically tell you a mild sprain that can heal in 1 to 3 weeks, a partial tear that can heal 3 to 6 weeks, or a full tear of rupture that can take several months to heal. Now, obviously, it's not a grade 3, because they would have told you his season, they would have told you that. Hopefully, they'll tell you that. It's not a partial tear. Hopefully, they will tell you that. But you're thinking about it, they're saying in the report that it's a left ankle sprain, excuse me, and they're not telling you what it was. But based on what we're seeing, he couldn't even put any weight on it. But we'll see. Let's just take it as if it's a mild sprain, you're looking at 1 to 3 weeks before he gets back. Now, in general, the more severe the sprain, the longer it will take to heal. You should consult whatever health physician. Pelicans maybe need to consult some health. Some physicians, hire some. And here's some of the tips. Avoid activities that aggravate it. Apply ice for 15 to 20 minutes. Use a brace of compression sleeve or ankle to reduce the swelling, and of course elevate it. So we'll see what happens with Brandon Ingram. They said that the update will be in 2 weeks of his status of what's going on. Of course, we know Brandon Ingram is on the trade block, as well as several other Pelicans, CJ McCollum, those guys too. So, boy, January is almost here. 2025 is here, and this is the injury update here. So with that being said, we're going to get out on that. I want y'all guys to do me a service. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show on social media. And I want to ask you guys, what do you think about some of these injuries? What do you think about Zion and all these other injuries? Do you guys believe the timelines? Do you expect these guys to come back sooner than what they're anticipated, or some later than others? Y'all put what y'all think in the comment section below. Let me know how y'all feel, man. I'm gonna holler at y'all on next week. Y'all hit the sub button, the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to get more alerts from PPR, man. Big Q representing the Flocking Nation. I'll let y'all later. Much love. Go Pels.
Subscribe now and stay up to date for all things New Orleans Pelicans.